Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers as we head into Saturday. Joining us are the Mail's football editor Ian Ladyman and sports broadcaster Shabana Ahern. Welcome to you both. Let's quickly run through the Back Pages as we set the scene for a great weekend. Not surprisingly, Amorim's first news conference as Manchester United manager dominates the Back Pages. Telegraph front page of the sports section has the headline Theatre of Dreams. Amorim lays out United ambition and tells fans, I'm a believer. Back page of the Mirror leads with the headline Right Guy, Right Moment. I could be wrong and the world will still turn, the sun will still rise, but I believe I'm the one for this job. And it's with many of the back pages as well. They also have Pep Guardiola's quotes, Pep, rivals want us down. Back page of The Sun, Judge Red, reference to a brilliant Sylvester Stallone film from the 90s and a comic strip. Amorim lays down the law. They also carry the big news from Arsenal. It's a white pain, and there's Pep Guardiola. They say, Pep dig at City haters. The Mail, Ian's paper, leads with I'm the right one, not the special one, says United boss Amorim. And they've got a Christian Horner exclusive on the weekend of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. How Jerry saved me and what I really think of Toto Wolff. Jerry being his wife, Jerry Halliwell. And a shocking Times investigation headline. Academy coach deemed guilty of child sex offences, worked in EFL. That's an exclusive by Matt Lawton. OK, well, let's start with Manchester United's new head coach, Ruben Amorim. And let's go to your piece, Ian, in the Mail. Very positive review of your impressions there today, it seems. After a decade of United decay, Amorim looks like the man with a plan to bring back the glory days. So why do you conclude that, Ian?
Well, he looks like he's got a plan, which is a pretty good starting point, because by the end of Erik ten Hag's time at Manchester United, he looked very much like a man who was absolutely devoid of a plan or ideas. What United need, of course, is the right coach, the right manager, but it doesn't do them any harm at all that the guy that they've chosen, one of the bright young things of the European coaching circuit, has walked into the room today. He's carried himself with confidence, with some charisma. He's urbane. He spoke very, very well. He seems to have an idea. And at the moment, that is all they can ask for. The hard work begins on Sunday when they play away at Ipswich. Results will define Ruben Amorim at the end of the day. We all know that. Words are words. Press conferences are press conferences. But if you wanted a guy to sit there today and talk to us lot about the way he thinks this great club should be dragged up by its bootstraps, then this was a reasonable start for him.
Absolutely. He's a great orator, isn't he? Not even his native language as well, Shaban. Back page of the Mirror, right guy, right moment. And a quote from Ruben Amorim, I could be wrong and the world will still turn, the sun will still rise, but I believe I'm the one for this job. How impressed were you by the way he spoke, Shaban, and how important is that?
Yeah, he seems pretty special. He does seem like the special one for now. But as you say, he said it himself, he's just the right one at the moment. Now, I think we've all been impressed from what we've seen from Ruben Amorim and what he's done at Sporting and what he's brought to that club after years of not winning and winning them trophies and winning titles. Now, coming to Manchester United, as we all know, it can seem the impossible job. He was asked about that today. He says he doesn't think he's crazy for doing that, but he believes in himself, and I think that's something we've all really found refreshing, is how much he backs himself. The 20-minute sit-down interview he'd done with Gary Neville is one that I think we all watched, kind of like, okay, this man has a lot to say. This man knows what he wants to bring and what he wants to change at Manchester United. And the quote that really stuck out for me was, I'll do my thing, and I'm not going to go and try and find out what went wrong with the managers previous to me. That's not my job, but I will do it my way. I will set culture, we will get our identity, and we will move forward like that. So he's making all the right noises. And then I'm a sad case and went over Erik ten Hag's interview from when he first arrived at Manchester United, and he said similar things. We all know that it's a tough task at the club just now. But what's different now for Ruben Amorim is there's a structure in place above him, and hopefully that will help him on his journey as Manchester United manager too.
Well, that's brilliant research as well, Shaban. That's why it's great to get you on a Friday night. Ian, how would you compare and contrast that as well? Would the content similar between Ten Hag and Amorim, but would you argue that the style and the feeling was different, having been in a room with both men?
I'm aware that this is not a competition, but I'm also not fibbing when I say that this morning, when I had a few hours before I set off for the Amorim press conference, I actually looked at every one of the previous 5 managers who followed Alex Ferguson into that chair, and the point is valid. They all say these things. Of course they do. What are they going to do? They're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, I can't do this job. I don't know why they've chosen me." Ten Hag 2 or 3 years ago said that he thought he could bring down Guardiola and Klopp. That didn't go so well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that he could bring back the spirit of Sir Alex Ferguson. Jose Mourinho talked about himself a lot in his opening press conference, etc., etc. But the point is that we have all danced this dance before. Amorim is the 6th attempt by Manchester United to get this right. We've heard these press conferences before, we've listened to these managers before, and they all start out with bright eyes and great ideas and confidence and enthusiasm, and results eventually grind them down. What Manchester United need from Amorim is a reset. They need some coaching, first of all, because they looked uncoached under Erik ten Hag towards the end. What are the modern Manchester United? Who are they? How do they play? I don't think we know. I think that pretty soon under Amorim we will know. He said that today. They'll go through it about. That's what he does. That's the first thing he's got to do, is coach them. And beyond that, he's got to shape them. He's got to reset the culture. He's got to improve attitude. He's got to improve confidence. And then he's got to make sure they buy some better players. I actually asked him today if he would be involved in recruitment, and he said he would be. And he actually went as far as to say that he would be the person who has the last say on transfers incoming. Whether that proves to be the case or not, I don't know. But that was quite a bold thing to say in a modern day sport where essentially these decisions tend to be made collectively.
Indeed, you wonder if that will fuel the Viktor Gyökeres links as well with Sporting. On that note, picking up from Ian's comments about transfers, Shaban, back page of The Sun, Judge Red again. They've got him as the comic hero there rather than Judge Dredd. Rumoured Amorim saying he should be axed in 2 years if he's judged to be a Manchester United failure. And also there, the other bullet point, Boss has final say on transfers. He comes across as a very nice, convivial guy, but did you sense some steel underneath, Shaban, from what he said about how much influence he will have? He's not going to be just a coach, is he?
Yeah, I mean, there was reports earlier on in the week about players who maybe didn't step up in the past, or when he was working at Braga, and he was quick to cut them out. You know, if you're putting yourself out there, you're training the hardest. It seems like you will be in his good books. That's something he spoke to Gary Neville about today, is the level of fitness. We need to be fitter to play at the level that he wants to play at, to play the style that he wants to play out. But that what you mentioned there, that's on the back page of The Sun, 2 years and you can work out if I'm the ideal coach for the project or not. To set his own deadline, I thought it's another thing where you kind of go, okay, you know, he's thrown out all the right things, he's making all the right noises, and results will be what we're focusing on now. You know, it's got Ipswich this weekend, Bodø Glimt then into the Europa League, Everton, Arsenal, Forest, and it goes on. So it's not an easy start for him. And coming in midway through the season, you know, will he be looking at the next transfer window? You would imagine so. And if he can change the culture at the club, you know, is it possible that one man can now make this change? Because we know that it's miles off it over the last wee while. And Rashford and Casemiro and everything that he had to say in that press conference, that sit-down interview with Gary Neville today, about maybe he would have structured that differently, that 5-day break, maybe said not have to have travelled to America. It should have been more rest time. So it seems like he's in there. He's not taking things lightly, and he knows how things will be run. So transfers, everything, it feels like it's going to go past him.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't bedazzled by those Instagram pictures of Casemiro, albeit having a great time at Disney World on his Instagram there. Interesting that we've both touched, I think, Ian, you've touched on it as well, the formation. It's picked up by Charlotte Dunker, a friend of this show, on the Times front page of the Sports Supplement as well. Amorim, I'll play 3-4-3, and there's no plan B. It's interesting that he frames it as a 2-year project. Do you think that's because this may be tricky at first to force United into this formation?
Yeah, I mean, without getting into all the details, I mean, the first thing you would think about that was who's going to play wing-back. I'm not sure United have got natural wing-backs, so he's going to have to shape players, change players, adapt players. But one of the things he said today about the way he wants to play was so frank and obvious as to be startling. He was asked about the kind of first things that he could improve quickly. And the two things that he said we need to stop giving the ball away and we need to run back harder. Now, that is the type of thing that you would hear a Sunday Parks manager saying at halftime. Stop giving the ball away, lads, and can you please run a bit harder? But that is how low the bar has fallen at Manchester United. And I keep digging out Erik ten Hag, but I can't help it because it's true. That's how low the bar has fallen. That Amorim inherits a team that he thinks doesn't run enough when they don't have the ball, and when they do have the ball, they can't keep it. This is Manchester United. It's absolutely shocking analysis, and nobody will argue with that. No one who's watched them play will argue with that. So from that point of view, he can improve them quickly, and that's why I say that, because a lot of the things that are wrong with Manchester United are very, very basic. They're not to do with formations. They're to do with the basics of the game.
Yep, says they want to be fitter as well, which seems pretty damning, didn't it, on the whole department under Erik ten Hag regarding fitness and conditioning. I want to touch on Jamie Carragher, Sky Sports analyst, of course, and columnist in the Telegraph, Shaban. Amorim talks like an elite coach on track to succeed as his summary. But within that, he says here, I cannot wait to see United take on Ipswich Town because we're about to witness one of the most radical mid-season changes in formation and strategy ever imposed by one of the elite clubs. And Jamie thinks it's going to be a tricky contest on Super Sunday. Do you share those sentiments? If it is going to be change overnight, the new formation and straight in?
I actually think Manchester United might be okay in this game. Ipswich, you've got to give them credit going into the international break, being able to beat Spurs in that game. They look good, up top. They're firing Delap's in a very good position just now, and finding the back of the net. But I think the way that Ruud van Nistelrooy has left Manchester United, it definitely seems like spirits are high. They're scoring goals. They're playing more attacking football, and I actually think the culture of it does come into it so much. I think when Erik ten Hag towards that end there, everybody, the shoulders were down, the heads were down, nobody was playing football with a smile on their face. It feels like they are that little bit more free, and I think with the new manager coming in, everybody's going to be looking to impress. They're going to be giving it absolutely everything. We're even seeing, Instagram posts from some players. Oh, great session today, training session. We're all smiling with our hats on as if, they've never had a good session in their lives. So everybody looks to be kind of pushing that step further to impress Amorim, and it's going to work both ways. When a manager comes in, the players want to impress, the manager wants to impress. He's impressing everybody to the press right now. So the players have a big job ahead of them at the weekend, and I actually think Ipswich the ideal opposition to do that.
Yeah, we'll see if the honeymoon continues as well. An interesting message in this, saying that he believes in the players despite thinking they're not fit. Certainly says he's never going to criticise them. He'd rather be sacked than that. Shaban and Ian, thank you very much for now. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more of the back pages. Focus perhaps across Manchester on Pep Guardiola after he signed that new 2-year contract, including this in the Mail. Pep, everyone wants City to be relegated. Welcome back. You are watching Back Pages tonight, and it's welcome back to our guests, the Mail's football editor Ian Ladyman and sports broadcaster Shaban Ahern. Let's go to the Mirror, dominated by Ruben Amorim, as we've seen, but above that, Pep Guardiola gets a look in there, Shaban. Pep Guardiola reckons the vast majority of Manchester City's Premier League rivals want the champions relegated. This regarding the 115 allegations of breaching financial regulations, which City deny. He's wrong, isn't he, Shaban? No one wants to see them relegated, or what's your take on it? Running a sports
Depends
show.
How shady you're feeling at this time of night, Teddy. I didn't really enjoy that comment from Pep. I didn't expect him to say something like that. It feels a little bit victim syndrome, to be honest. And I think anybody who wants Pep and City relegated, maybe there's a cowardly part from them. It would be easier for somebody else to win the league if Pep and Manchester City aren't in it, simply. But I think it feels like now it's just Manchester City against the Premier League. This huge battle will continue to rumble on. It's not quite gone their way at this moment with the outcome for the APT legalities. And I do think that it's important, if City feel that these rules are unlawful, that be sorted out. And I think that will be resolved in the end. But for now, I don't think everyone's sitting and hoping that City get relegated.
Yeah, battles perhaps in the courtrooms, but interesting what Pep means in terms of fans and opponents. Back page of the Mail have it as well. Below the picture of Christian Horner, the Red Bull boss. Pep Guardiola has claimed most clubs in the Premier League want to see Manchester City relegated. Mike Keegan and Jack Gaughan reporting that one in your paper. Ian, what do you make of it? It's a tricky time on the pitch for them at the moment. Is this borrowed a leaf out of Sir Alex Ferguson's book, The Siege Mentality?
Teddy, you've absolutely taken the words out of my mouth. You absolutely have. That is exactly what it is. I don't bring many good lines to this show, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't steal them before I say them. But that is exactly it, mate. Whether he's doing it consciously or subconsciously, that is exactly it. Manchester City are under a little bit of pressure off the field and unusually for them on the field. And this is Pep Guardiola's way of essentially saying, I am with this football club. I've signed a new contract this week. I'm with this football club. I'm with my players. Everybody hates us. Stuffed a lot of you. We'll win the league again. That's what it is. It's a message to his players. It's a message to his club. And it's a message to his supporters. They have an absolutely huge game at home to Tottenham tomorrow evening. And Pep Guardiola now knows that 50, 60,000 City fans will turn up to that game, having read those comments, having heard those comments, and they'll be absolutely at it. They'll know that they've just lost a pretty small battle in what is a pretty large war with the Premier League. And now they've heard the manager say that, and that will just turn the volume up nicely when the teams walk out of the tunnel at the Etihad tomorrow night. That's exactly what that's about.
A brilliant game against Spurs, isn't it? Coming in off a defeat as well. Don't worry, Ian, I won't say any good lines on the show for the remainder of tonight and probably for the near future as well. So you can rest easy on that one. The Sun has the same story, Shaban. Pep dig at City haters. I just wonder as well with his mindset at the moment, seemingly, Pep, and the tricky position they are in the league. Do you feel that the 2-year thing has more to do with a possible rebuild, that he wants to finish on a high, that maybe he fears that it's not going to be great this season?
It's very possible. I mean, Rodri is going to be there tomorrow, isn't he? He's going to go out with his Ballon d'Or and show off to the fans at the Etihad. You lose a player like that, yeah, it's tough. You know, it is tough, and he's been so available for Manchester City. He also spoke today, Pep, in his press conference about the quality players that he is missing, and that being hard for them, and naturally then the quality of the team drops off when you're missing so many good players. But a number of players are looking to hopefully return tomorrow. I mean, the players who dropped out of international duty, Grealish, Foden, Jeremy Doku dropped out of international duty. They trained this week, and it's believed that John Stones, Akanji and Ake are also looking in good shape as well. So actually you've got to look at Pep's squad all the time. This is unusual for them to have 4 losses in a row. It's very, very strange. But Pep feels confident, it seems, by signing this new contract, by making sure he said it today, if we're relegated, I will stay at the club. You know, he's committed to that. I think that shows huge faith that the 115, the alleged charges, all of those, he thinks, he's confident that it'll all be okay. I think that is a huge statement there. But now it's time for the team to step up. It's been very, very strange to watch them lose 4 games in a row. It's never happened in Pep's time at the club. But if anybody can do a job over them, it's the topsy-turvy Spurs. So it could be a cracker tomorrow.
Yeah, expect goals, don't we, as well, live on the Saturday Night Football. The Telegraph has the line as well that the Shaban's just mentioned. Guardiola, I will stick with City even if we are relegated. Ian, Mike McGrath and Tom Morgan reporting that. Does that reflect, you feel, his confidence that everything will be all right, or just a show of his commitment? It conjures quite an interesting image, doesn't it? I think he mentioned the National League going to games.
Yeah, we'd all love to see that, wouldn't we? People have always said that, or some people have said that Pep Guardiola only ever wins things because he's got the best players and he's playing at the best clubs. It'll be interesting to see if he could do it down there. But seriously, I think the truth of the matter is that he'll probably never have to find out, because I think if City were to lose this, the case with the Premier League over the 115 charges that they deny, I think there would be an appeal, and I think that would drag it out even further. And I'm not even sure whether the whole thing will be resolved by the end of next season. It's absolutely impossible to say. Pep has signed an extension to his contract. It's a 1-year extension with a 1-year option. It's not like he's signed for 5 years. So I think Pep's rhetoric has been pretty well thought out today, pretty well considered, pretty well prepared. I think he wanted to get his message out there. Solidarity. Yeah, I can't even say it. Everybody united for the cause. And like I said before, I think it's all with a purpose to get City rolling. They've just lost four games on the spin. If they were to lose tomorrow and Liverpool was to win at Southampton on Sunday, I think the gap would be 8 points, and City absolutely cannot afford that. So I think Pep is getting his ducks in a row, getting his team talk done early ahead of tomorrow's game.
Well, Ian, let's not try and put anyone to sleep this late on a Friday night, but the Associated Party transaction story has been current today. I'll stick with you for Sam Wallace's piece here. Legal battles united Premier League rivals in defiance of the champions, meaning Manchester City. Do you think that's right, Ian, or is this just a case-by-case thing where clubs vote according to their own self-interest? Is there true unity there?
I think there's a definite feeling among many Premier League clubs on this issue, particularly that they wanted to move past it. I think the Premier League were urging them to move past it, and that is what they've done. Led to believe from reading everything that people like Sam have written today that it was a pretty short meeting this morning. In fact, it was a very, very short meeting this morning. City didn't get the support that they thought. I think they thought there was a couple of clubs who'd indicated that they might be with them on this, and at the end of the day, they weren't, and that was what made the difference. They did get some support from clubs like Newcastle and Villa and Nottingham Forest, but a couple of others who they thought were with them turned out not to be so. So, look, this one is done and dusted for now. But again, to go back to a phrase I used before, this is a tiny battle in what is a pretty big, pretty ugly, and pretty long war. City may yet challenge this ruling, and there's an awful lot of battles further to come down the road.
Indeed, that big battle with Tottenham on the pitch as well in the near future. Arsenal being the closest contenders, but struggling at the moment. Shaban have Nottingham Forest on Saturday, but some pretty depressing news, I suppose, on the eve of that for Arsenal. Back page of the Sun, top of the paper, you can see Ben White pictured. It's a white pain. Arsenal's title hopes been dealt another major blow with crocked Ben White facing a battle to play again this season. How devastating could it be for Arsenal?
I actually think this is an incredible loss to Arsenal, be it what you make of Ben White personally, and everything with England. You cannot say he's not been completely available for Arsenal. Out of the 114 games since he joined the club, the Premier League games of 114, he's only been unavailable for 5 of them. So he's been a consistent player since 2021, since joining Arsenal. For Mikel Arteta, he's always been there. He's pretty solid at the back, so I think he'll be a huge loss, and this is where the likes of Timber and Calafiori coming back will really have to show what they can do as well. I think this could be a huge problem for Arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah, it feels very difficult, doesn't it? It's a difficult game against Nottingham Forest, level on points with them going into that match. Shaban Ahern and Ian Laderman, thank you very much for being on Back Pages tonight. Enjoy the sport over the weekend, all the football, all the rugby as well, Formula 1 too. Thank you for now.